Welcome home, sir.
Hello everyone, Zarek here. Following up on my last video, I will go through briefly how I have set up my smart home. There are 9 categories that I will go through. They are switches and lights, sockets, dumb appliances, smart appliances, blinds and curtains, security, voice assistant, sensors and miscellaneous, and hub. The most basic thing that I have would be the smart switches. When setting up this smart home, I try to keep things simple. The end result should be making things simpler for you at home and not overcomplicating simple tasks until my mother also don't know how to use. Therefore, switches should look and function like switches, and they should be able to be controlled via conventional means on top of whatever app or ecosystem I use. For this very reason, I am using a variety of Aqara switches for most of my lights. They look like regular dumb rocker switches and should be intuitive enough that even my mother can use them. The wired switches I used are the neutral version, so I had my ID's electrician set up the neutral wiring to the switches locations right from the beginning of the renovation. In my opinion, the neutral version would prevent potential headache in the future. I have a few Aqara wireless switches as well, which is used to control some of the other wired switches. This enables them to function similarly to two-way switches. For example, here in the kitchen, the light switch is outside, so having a wireless switch here is way more convenient when you are inside the kitchen and wants to on or off the lights. The only smart light that I have currently is an LED light strip from an unknown brand. I got it just to play around with it. If you are not starting from scratch like I did, then adding smart switches might be more troublesome, and using smart lighting could be the way to go. For the water heater, Aqara doesn't have a 20 amp switch, so I had to get an unknown brand Tuya Wi-Fi switch for my water heater. And it doesn't have the traditional rocker switch as well, so I had no choice but to use a touch one. The next simple thing that those starting out on their smart home journey can get would be smart sockets. And I don't mean those that HDB provided. They can be used to turn on and off those dumb analog appliances. Some example of them might include electric fan, kettle, rice cooker, but make sure that they can be turned on when you turn on the power to the socket. I have bought a number of different sockets from IKEA to unknown brand Tuya ones, simply to try out. They pretty much function similarly, just that they might run on different wireless protocol like Wi-Fi or ZigBee. I prefer ZigBee ones because they have a mesh of ZigBee network from the Aqara switches that I have installed, which is much better than my Wi-Fi network. Also, ZigBee uses less power. The downside is that a hub is required for ZigBee devices. Another thing to note is that some sockets have power monitoring, which can be useful for certain automations. Otherwise, it is just to on and off the socket. I will show you some of my automations in a future video. Another way to consider making dumb analog appliances slightly smarter is by using IR or RF blaster. I have a Broadlink RM4 Pro in my study room, which I use for a couple of appliances. Even though the blaster is in the room, it has enough range to control my ceiling fan in the living room. I also use it for my blind in the study room. Both of them uses RF. This could also be used for aircons, dumb TVs, etc. Basically, what it does is just mimicking the signals sent by the remote control to control the device. One way to know whether it is using radio frequency or infrared is to try to point the remote away from the device and see if it still works. If it works, then it is RF. Otherwise, it's IR. The downside to using a blaster is that it is a one-way communication. The devices do not report their state, so you can't see from an app whether your fan is on or off and what speed it is at. So, if you have a natively smart fan, it would be much better. I didn't do much research for smart blinds and ceiling fans, but if you have any recommendations, do let me know in the comments below. On the smarter side of appliances, I have a few as well. For my aircon, I am using Daikin iSmile series, which came with the Wi-Fi adapter. Therefore, they can be connected to a Wi-Fi network and be controlled via the app. However, it's quite slow and sluggish most of the time, and there's quite a bit of latency between button presses and the actual controls going off. My three other major appliances, namely the TV, washer and fridge, are from LG. So LG has a ThinQ app which these devices can be connected to. I can use the app to control the TV, start the washer, see some numbers for the fridge, and get notifications when my washing is done. Some of these smart features for the TV and washer can be useful, but I'm still trying to figure out how I can make use of the smart features of the refrigerator. Kindly suggest below if you have any other ideas. Besides these must-have appliances, another device for effort minimizing people like me is a robot vacuum. It really saves you a lot of time. What I have here is a Roborock S7 which I set to run every time I leave the house. It can be integrated into either the Roborock or the Mi Home app. However, the mopping part is a bit more work, as I will need to fill the water tank beforehand and wash the cloth after mopping. I have a couple of Xiaomi air purifiers, 3H and 3C. I'm not sure how useful they are, so I just set them on a schedule and forget about them. I guess the placebo helps as well. One last smart appliance that I have, which I have not fully automated yet, is the Xiaomi standing fan. It can be integrated in the Mi Home app too, but I have not done so since it is of low priority and works fine with us just manually controlling it. As mentioned previously, I have a blind in my study room. For my other rooms, I am using curtains. The curtain motors I am using are from Aqara as well, and in order to use that, I need to have their tracks. So this option actually costs us quite a bit. The Aqara Smart Curtain Controller allows me to open and close the curtains remotely and set the opening to a certain percentage. I can also manually open and close the curtains by tugging on the end. However, this will cause it to either open or close fully. This is one downside of having this curtain controller. Another is that I cannot choose to open just one side. Both sides are mirrored and I have to open or close both sides together. If you have decided to do this, it would be good to have a power socket near the location of the curtain motor so that it can be easily charged or powered. This is what my ID did for me during the renovation stage. Next up, security. There are only a few items under this category. I have no indoor cameras yet, so that leaves me with my digital lock and doorbell. What I have here is a Eufy wireless 2K doorbell, which I would recommend. I went with the wireless version because wiring it is too much effort. The battery for the doorbell lasted me about 3 months before requiring a charge, and the main reason I chose this was because it does not require a subscription to get all of the features. It has all of the features of a smart doorbell, such as motion sensing, human detection, two-way voice communication via the app, and video recording. I can set the activity zone to detect motion so that I don't get alerted when my neighbor goes home. It is also able to work with Google platform, unlike the Ring doorbell. I can get Google to stream the doorbell to my Chromecast, but there is quite a bit of latency. Maybe walking over to the door might be faster. The doorbell comes with a home base unit which connects wirelessly to the doorbell. It acts as a hub for the doorbell and any other Eufy cameras that you might have. Videos are stored locally there. The home base itself can be connected to your home network either via Wi-Fi or Ethernet cable. The only disappointment was that I didn't realize that they removed facial recognition from this version. It would have been good to not receive notifications when I come home or go out. Hopefully, they will add this feature back in the future. For my gates and door lock, it was a tough decision. Since I like to leave the door open sometimes when I'm home, I wanted both to have locks. I ended up with Philips because they have both the gate and door lock. However, it does not integrate with any smart home platform. They have their own app for configuring and controlling the locks. One bad thing about Philips is that within the brand itself, it is very fragmented. All their different product categories use different platforms, like in this case, the door locks use a different app from the lightings or TV. They have a ZigBee hub which pairs with both locks and connects to my home network via Wi-Fi. Then, I can configure via the Philips EasyKey app. The app also supposedly allows me to lock and unlock via Bluetooth, but as of recording, I seem to not be able to connect to the lock. I have not used the app much since I set everything up, but from the app reviews, it doesn't seem super reliable. The only feature I use these days is just the fingerprint unlock, and it is reliable enough for me. Now, voice assistant. This one you should know by now. I am using a Google Nest Hub in the living room and a Google Home Mini in my study room. The main use for them is for notifications and for the occasional times where I have my hands full and need to switch on and off the lights or something like that. Why Google instead of Amazon or Apple? 1. I don't use iPhone. 2. Google is more popular in this part of the world, even though Amazon might be slightly leading in terms of smart home devices and its voice assistant. So this is just personal preference really. With all these smart devices, you need a way to trigger them within their automations. One type of trigger might be sensors. I have a variety of them, all from Aqara for now because of the price. I have motion sensors, door sensors, water leak sensors. All these will trigger automations to do something like sending a notification or carrying out an action. I also have a vibration sensor which I have not found a use for it yet. Any suggestions? Another type of automation trigger that I'm using is NFC tag. The tag can be written so that when I scan it with my phone, it will trigger a series of actions, just like what you see at the beginning of the video. NFC tags are cheap and can do some other things as well. I will share more on all my automations in the future. Now, finally, the brains of the whole ecosystem. Having to go to different apps such as Smart Life, Aqara, Xiaomi, LG to control different things is a hassle. Not to mention automations across different platforms is difficult. In order to save all this hassle and have all these products of different brands together on one app, you should get a hub like SmartThings, Habitat, or Home Assistant. For myself, I'm going the Home Assistant route. I have a Raspberry Pi 3B with a ZigBee stick to run Home Assistant. A Raspberry Pi is a small computer on which you can install the Home Assistant software. Home Assistant has come a long way and is only going to get easier to use. With the release of Home Assistant Blue and Amber in the near future, it should be easier to set up a smart home platform that allows you to pick and choose smart devices from different brands. Some people think that doing up a smart home is expensive. I don't really think so. If you don't need a smart light, getting a smart switch is more economical. If you are brand agnostic, getting from a smaller brand will cost you less, and the quality and features might not always be inferior. There are so many brand options out there. That's why having a hub that can integrate a majority of devices out there is advantageous in that you can pick and choose from whatever fits your bill. Hello, Future Me here. Just to give an update on the HDB smart stuff. HDB and EasyKey has come down and looked into the non-working smart power outlets, and they will arrange another time to come and make it work for me. Many of my neighbors are facing the same problem, so if you are too, you can email them at the email address in the description below. Another thing that I missed out is that HDB also provided us with smart shower heads. The smart shower head changes its lighting colors based on water usage to help you save water. It can also track your shower water consumption, but can be a little troublesome because we need to manually sync the data every few weeks. It runs on Bluetooth and it does not use any batteries, as I believe it is powered by the running water when you turn on the shower head. And that's all for this update. Now that I have shown you what I have and where I have these devices, I will go through how and when I use them in my next video. The next video will be on the automations that I have currently set up. I hope that this will give you an idea on what can be possible with a smart home. If you found it beneficial, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, bye!
Goodbye, sir.